Sweet.
Did you want to finish the fat margarita story?
I'll save it for later.
Okay. Hey! What's up, everybody? This is the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast. This is Mike.
This is Matt.
This is J-Lo.
And guess what, folks? Today...
This John will keel.
Yeah, he might. Actually, I think he keeled over a long time ago. Early 2000s. Yeah, we're talking about John Keel today, of the infamous Mothman prophecies. But you know what? That story has been done so many times, in and out, left and right, reversified and inside out.
It's like the Peanuts Gang Christmas special. Nobody cares.
I mean, interesting story. I like when people get into the more esoteric aspects of it, like all the Men in Black shit and the crazy phone calls and a fella by the name of Indrid Cold who fits in tangentially. But we will briefly touch on that today. The main reason we want to talk about John Keel today is because he's the man who coined the term Ultraterrestrials, which is what else we're going to get into. We're going to talk about Luis Elizondo and the AATIP program. We're going to talk about... What else?
Oh, you know, a couple of the books he wrote and the chronological order of some things. Try and keep some stuff in line. Careful, Mike. Cornelius came through here earlier. I don't know what he was doing.
I don't want to know. Aliens, cryptids, ghosts, demons. Are these all the same thing?
Santa.
I don't think so. Santa. Oh, yeah. We might have a special guest today. If the kids are good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So anyways, let's do a little bit of bio work.
Yeah, kick it off for us there, Matt.
John Keel, born Alva John Keel. Keel spelled Kiechle.
I thought it was John Alva Keel.
Alva's his first name, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Or, I mean, whatever.
Do you know John?
Keel?
No, that's what psychics ask because everybody knows John.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe by keeping your answers purposefully vague.
Yeah. Old John Edwards.
The fickle finger of fate strikes again.
Yep.
Ha!
Nice reference.
Yeah, can't forget that.
Born on March 25th, 1930. Wow, that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
In Hornell, New York. Died July 3rd, 2009. I guess he declared independence from the mortal coil, too.
Oh.
He died in New York, New York. So nice they named it twice.
So nice he had to die there twice.
Apparently. His parents got separated shortly after he was born. I guess, he broke up their marriage. Or maybe it's the fact that his dad was a musician.
That's why all families divorce.
That's right.
It's the goddamn kids.
I'm living proof.
Oh, music. Apparently his dad wasn't a very great musician either, because I tried to look up stuff on him and didn't find a whole lot, except that he was a musician and he was a father and it was the ragtime.
And then he died.
Yes.
The end.
Of his dad. As a teenager, he started as a freelance author, like most geniuses do. And he wrote the article, "Are You a Repressed Sex Fiend?" I looked for this thing over and over and over, the nerd. It's like the sangreal of articles, apparently, because I couldn't find it.
Scrubbed?
Maybe. I even went through like old archives from like magazine articles from like the 30s and 40s and all that stuff, and even some of the reference material on...
He wrote it when he was a baby.
Yeah, a baby. And later in life, he would join the U.S. Army. Hell yeah. He joined during the Korean War.
Are you fat? Do you like to play video games? Join the Army.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's their new approach, so I've heard.
Do you like to get yelled at all the time and be called a...
No, we support our troops. Thank you very much.
Everyone here is the son of or is a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
He joined during the Korean War / UN police action in Korea. While in the Army, he claimed that he was taught psychological warfare as a propaganda writer.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So there's the first red flag for me, is that he's a...
It puts a pang in his credibility to a degree. Not in a bad way necessarily, but it definitely puts a spin, a new light on much of what he would come to be known for.
A layer of intrigue, to say the least.
Yes.
So, like all great things, you got to leave the Army at some point. And he got out, and he worked as a foreign correspondent in Paris, Berlin, Rome, and Egypt.
Got around this guy.
Yeah, he's seen some stuff.
Done some things.
Wouldn't recommend it. In 1957, published Jadoo, covering such salacious topics as the Yeti, not the cooler, but the creature, and the Indian rope trick. And I'm sure everyone's seen it.
In the Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah, like the rope goes straight up.
Yeah.
And climb up and down. And what they don't show is that it's being filmed. They're just doing it backwards. That's it. That's the trick.
Wait, so are they hanging the rope from something and just...
Yeah, it's...
kind of like on the original Batman show when they would climb the buildings.
Turn the TV sideways?
They would just turn the camera sideways.
Pretty much.
Oh, man. I love that Joel Hodgson bit from Saturday Night Live. He's like, if everyone can just turn your TVs on their sides, and he puts on the plastic Batman mask. Good stuff.
And then in 1966, he wrote the book The Spy and a Superhero, a spoof novel. And while writing the book, he found an interest in the work of Charles Fort of Fortean fame.
Yes, someone we'll definitely cover in the future.
Yes. I mean, that's like the basis of how this guy operated after that. That research led him down the rabbit hole of paraphenomenon, which would give a lot of,
how you say,
stuff to his writing and towards UFO events.
Now, where was the fickle finger of fate? Was that in there in his early writings?
Yeah, I think that was actually around the same time as The Spy and the Superhero.
Okay. The Fickle Finger of Fate was a Batman softcore porn spoof that he wrote. I haven't read it, but I've seen excerpts from it, and I do know that the word boner is thrown around a lot.
Is he the one who got all that sex notoriety onto Batman and Robin?
I think that was already there. I think you can attribute most of that to that piece of shit, Frederick Wortham.
Okay.
Quote unquote, Dr. Frederick Wortham.
The guy who pushed the
Comics Code Authority.
Yeah.
And, the big era of, horror comics and shit. I mean, like, some of that shit was pretty salacious, but it was awesome. And I mean, I don't know. There's always a party pooper, and Frederick Wortham
was one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might briefly touch on him in a future episode as well.
I don't want to touch him.
Ian McCarthy, peas in a pod.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
So,
mass hysterias.
So Keel started going into more and more into submitting articles to the Flying Saucer Review, and he's just a regular contributor to it, and he's like super fascinated by it, hunting stuff down, trying to see if there's some kind of physical proof.
Yeah, he's very
behind.
much. Sorry, he was very much a journalist by nature. He was a boots on the ground kind of guy. He would go to the places where these things happen and interview people, etc.
Nice.
All that while being a member of the Screenwriters Guild.
Really?
No doubt a very busy man. Yes, he wrote.
He'd be on strike today.
He would be if he was still working. Lazy bastard.
He's sleeping now.
Yeah. He's wearing a Chicago trench coat.
Sleepy John.
1967 popularized the term Man in Black or Men in Black with the article UFO Agents of Terror, published in Saga magazine? Saga or Sega, because they're both spelled the same.
That was quite a high note you had there. Yeah, him, Gray Barker, and Albert K. Binder were the three wise men who more or less solidified the concept of MIBs into popular consciousness. Once again, more people we will probably cover in the future. There's so much to unload there.
This dude's Venn diagram of weirdness covers a lot of places.
He's the tangential man, and he's touched a lot of other, just the things he's investigated, the places he's been, the things he's done. Oh my, the things you'll see.
John Keel wanted to believe, just like that poster I have in my office. So he thought we were being visited by alien life, extraterrestrials. His fieldwork failed to yield any support for this hypothesis. Nothing.
Yep.
And it was more like hearsay and a leap of faith.
Yeah. He decided to basically take all the data. He just said, fuck everything that everyone said. Fuck everything that, people have been approaching this field with, like, preconceived notions, etc. And he just relied on the data itself and came to some very strange conclusions.
One of those conclusions was that these phenomenon were more closely related to a psychological or a psychic event.
Something like a phenomenon.
The more cases he went back and reviewed, the more he saw, okay, there's potentially a link between some kind of psychic energy and these things showing up. So maybe we're just looking at it all wrong. we shouldn't have to stick our heads up a bull's ass to get a good look at a T-bone steak. Let's just trust the butcher's word for it.
If you want to stick your head up a butcher's asshole, I'll give you a steak.
So in 1970, he publishes a book, UFOs Operation Trojan Horse. 75, he published the Eighth Tower, and these kind of were the all-encompassing ideas that he had put together to try and form what he thought was, we're not being necessarily visited by guys out there, but maybe guys that share the same time-space continuum in another side.
Maybe not so much outer space as it is inner space.
And not that Dion Fortune inner planet. No, this is a different place. All right.
There's some overlap, not those inner planes. It's weird. We'll get into it.
So between the two books, he had the hypothesis in regards to UFO activities. All entities from vampires, monsters, demons, Santa Claus, Oompa Loompas, everything were manifestations.
Eskimos.
Yeah, a psychological manifestation.
Penguins.
Between the two books, a hypothesis was formed in regards to UFO activities. All entities from vampires, monsters, demons, etc., all the way down to gremlins, are just a manifestation or psychic energy. He called these ultra-terrestrials.
It's the psychic energy component, or there is a psychic component, but it's also very much in line with the interdimensional hypothesis as well. He touches on the subject or the idea of like the trickster god and how there's this prevalent energy that's sort of native to Earth as opposed to from outer space that basically every so often sticks its head up and kind of fucks with us. To what end, to what purpose? We dare not.
No one apparently knows.
Yeah, exactly.
So these things can take the form of whatever best will get to you, right? Like, so, I mean, culturally speaking, like Transylvania, the vampire, right? The birthplace.
The vampire.
Yeah. And then
the Warkalak.
Out here in Dallas, we're terrified of the Wendigo.
Or the goat
drivers.
Or the goat man.
Yeah, or the goat man of Lake Worth. Take a tour with us to see some very... Never mind.
Sorry. Oh.
All right. But no, these things, they take the form of whatever's best going to be appropriate, right? So it would appear that they actually have some kind of sentience, and they're aware of what gets the biggest rise out of us per location.
This plays into another sort of concept of like the fear eaters. You hear this a lot with reptilian aliens or things of that nature. They sort of like feed off of our fear, our intense emotions. And this is another sort of, I would say, tangential concept to ultraterrestrials. It's not all ultraterrestrials are fear eaters, but not all fear eaters are ultraterrestrials. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
So 1975 rolls around, and he wrote the Mothman Prophecies, later turned into the 2002 box office hit of the same name. A lot of wacky stuff happened out there. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, he got a lot of weird phone calls about saving money on car insurance. And,
his car's warranty.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
A bunch of pets started showing up mutilated around the time he was doing all this research.
I don't like that part.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And these goddamn men in black were showing up. Then all this spooky kind of weird stuff going on, and then the Silver Bridge collapses, and then no more Mothman sightings because we have a real tragedy to deal with.
Yeah. And this plays into also the idea of these beings, these creatures, etc., whatever you want to call them, acting as sort of harbingers of doom. Like this goes back to like old school, like folklore, like the banshee, for example. It shows up and screams the name of the family of someone who's about to die, if I remember correctly. I think that's how it works. These things are always, portents of doom, omens of badness around the corner.
So in the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, population
born and raised.
Yeah. Where I spent most of my days. Population of 4,101, allegedly. From November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967, sightings of a giant bird-like man with red glowing eyes, large wingspan, and shitty manners have been circulating around town. Most people chalked it up the Sandhill Cranes, also known for their shitty attitudes and lack of manners. The national press picked up the story, and it gained the attention of one John Keel, and he went out there to start looking at the stuff.
He was Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, and the characters in the movie are both plays on John Keel's name.
Oh.
Yeah. So John is an obvious one, and then I forget the other guy's name, but it's something Klein or whatever. They're just making a play on words.
So is Richard Gere in the Hamsters a play on John Keel's name?
Oh, man, I was hoping no one would bring it up.
We got through how many minutes before that joke came up?
Oh, man. I heard it was a cactus full of spiders. I heard it was a beehive hairdo.
Gross.
Oh, man.
So, and that's your bio. You're all caught up on his bio.
Man, that was a short one. Yeah, he would go on to basically kind of become the go-to guy for a lot of paranormal. He was on David Letterman multiple times, Johnny Carson. This is sort of the guy they went to. This was a man who also did it with class. He was no ghost bro. Fucking, he rocked a Van Dyke like nobody else.
He explained to the world what Fortean events were. Like raining frogs and
or fish
red snow,
raining red.
Yeah, it's just raining red, period.
You got red on you. Also, as we mentioned before, he coined the term ultraterrestrials. Now, basically, to get a good idea of what exactly ultraterrestrials are, let me run you by the main, let's call them prevailing theories here of what exactly these aliens, quote unquote, cryptids, etc. I think this covers more. Well, it just depends. Here's the main ones. The extraterrestrial hypothesis, obviously, proposes that some identified flying objects are best explained as being physical spacecraft occupied by extraterrestrial intelligence or non-human aliens, or non-occupied alien probes from other planets visiting Earth, aka the nuts and bolts theory. Then you've got the psychosocial hypothesis. Builds on the finding that most UFO reports have mundane explanations like celestial objects, airplane lights, balloons, swamp gas. Basically, this theory, I think, how do I put this gently? It presupposes that everyone who's ever seen something odd is a fucking moron and doesn't know what the fuck they're seeing. What it really reminds me of...
Officer, there's this guy over there. No, that's just Venus.
Yeah, that's
Fuck
just
off.
That's just swamp gas out here in the middle of the desert. Yeah, it's kind of insulting. I don't know. It's like what it reminds me of. Really? If I can hearken it back to maybe something we've all personally experienced. Say you've taken some lysergic acid dithylamide, and people are like, "Oh, you see Tyrannosaurus Rex?" Like, no. That's not how it works. And then, people fuck. I don't know. Just that's what it made me think of. Like, I know the difference, dude. Like, people. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying not to be. Okay.
No angry Mike today, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's next? Oh, before I get into the ultra-terrestrial bit, I have my own sort of theory that I'll just throw out there. And I know this is not, specifically my own, but I call it the psychogenic theory or the egregoric tulpatronics. Basically, the idea that I'm sure most of our audience knows what a tulpa is. If not, it's basically a Tibetan concept that means thought form. That's basically concentrated mental psychic energy gathered to create a physical thought form. Like it starts off as sort of a living idea and solidifies, crystallizes into reality. Much like the popular Slender Man. Most people know that example. So you take the Slender Man idea and, it catches on, builds in popularity, and next thing you know, you've got two girls stabbing another girl.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you went that direction and not with a cup.
There is a lot of Slender Man erotica out there. I avoid it at all costs.
This world.
I'm telling you. No, what you're talking about, X-Files had an episode about it with a really, really fucked up, stringent HOA. And you gotta put the trash out before 4 o'clock. Or
I remember that
just
episode.
Fucking, you're fucked. All right, just fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, the HOA. The HOA, that kind of counts as an egregore. An egregore is basically a group mind tulpa. So when you have... Oh, pardon the technical difficulties. We seem to have a UFO flying overhead. Yes, egregores. Egregores are much like a tulpa in that, except they are a group mind tulpa. So the best way to think of that is basically a corporate entity. You have a board of directors and everyone, invests their money, time, effort, emotion, anger, sociopathy, etc. into this group mind entity of sorts. So...
And just like the Mothman, when they're brought up into being indicted, all of a sudden they're fictitious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only when it counts. Basically, the psychogenic theory is that you have a mass media machine, government, etc., whoever, and they're basically pushing a narrative more and more and more, i.e. UFOs, and sort of like building this story in the group consciousness, the mass consciousness, and it sort of manifests itself eventually as egregoric tulpatronics of UFOs, etc., cryptids, Bigfoot, what have you. And then finally...
You need to leave Bigfoot out of this, Mike.
Hey, man, I've seen some scary shit on Bigfoot lately.
We may say about big feet.
Big shoes.
Big socks.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have the interdimensional hypothesis. It's a proposal that unidentified flying objects and the sightings thereof are the results of experiencing other dimensions that coexist separately alongside our own. In contrast with either the extraterrestrial hypothesis that suggests UFO sightings are caused by visitations from outside the Earth, or the psychosocial hypothesis that argues UFO sightings are best explained as psychological or social phenomenon. The hypothesis has been advanced by UFO enthusiasts such as Meade Lane, our boy John Keel, J. Allen Hynek, and Jacques Vallée, also a fucking badass. I highly recommend many of the books by Jacques Vallée. He's one of the first people who also sort of posited the idea that, like, man, these abduction stories sound a lot like fairy abductions from back in the day. Hybrid program equals changelings, ? So, yeah, worth checking out. Proponents of the interdimensional hypothesis argue that UFOs are a modern manifestation of a phenomenon that has occurred throughout recorded human history, which in prior ages were ascribed to mythological or supernatural creatures. See?
Yeah, I mean, even the stuff that came out from the U.S. Navy back, or the incident in 2004, 5, right? You know what I'm talking about? Off the coast of San Diego.
No.
They sent 2 fighters out to see what it was because it picked up on radar, but it moved in ways that defy physics.
Yes,
but not in ways that defy thought.
Yes, and that's another thing we'll be getting into later when we touch on the UAP program and AATIP.
Just AATIP.
Just the tip. Yeah. The interdimensional / ultra-terrestrial hypothesis, for some reason, I give this one the most credence. You have different people with different definitions of what an ultra-terrestrial is exactly. Like, a lot of people use it as just a vast blanket term for pretty much all paranormal shit. But I don't know. I think we mentioned in the last episode, the Richard Shaver episode, the concept of crypto-terrestrials. And I kind of see these two being intertwined. Like, I feel that this is something that is either native to Earth, like it's from here, or is just in some way inexplicably and inextricably intertwined with the story of mankind and civilization. In the late 19th century, various spiritualists believed in other dimensions. During the summer of 1947, spiritualists adapted the other dimensions folklore to explain recent tales of flying discs. And when you get into the occult history of UFOs, man, you're going down some weird avenues. Bringing it back to John Keel for just a moment, he is quoted as saying, "I abandoned the extraterrestrial hypothesis in 1967 when my own field investigations disclosed an astonishing overlap between psychic phenomena and UFOs. The objects and apparitions do not necessarily originate on another planet and may not even exist as permanent constructions of matter. It is more likely that we see what we want to see and interpret such visions according to our contemporary beliefs. In his 1970s book, UFOs, Operation Trojan Horse, Keel argued that a non-human or spiritual intelligence source has staged whole events over a long period of time in order to propagate and reinforce certain erroneous belief systems. For example, monsters, ghosts, and demons, the fairy faith in Middle Europe, vampire legends, mystery airships in 1897. That happened in Texas, by the way. Mystery aeroplanes of the 1930s, mystery helicopters, anomalous creature sightings, poltergeist phenomena, balls of light, and UFOs. Keel conjectured that ultimately all of these anomalies are a cover for the real phenomenon. Keel used the term ultraterrestrials to describe UFO occupants he believed to be non-human entities capable of taking on whatever form they want. And back to the concept of UFOs and the occult, there was actually a secret group starting within the Department of Defense known as the Collins Elite, which is made up of
the elite.
Let's say, I hesitate to say Christian fundamentalists, but let's, call a spade a spade.
It's just a placeholder.
Yeah, they were very concerned with what occurred in 1947 between one Dr. Jack Parsons. Was he a doctor? Professor?
Probably.
Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, who performed a ritual in the desert that, quote unquote, opened a doorway and the flying saucers flew in. This doesn't quite account for, all the proto-saucer sightings that, have happened throughout history. I'm not sure how they parse that. But because of this belief that these beings are, in fact, demonic in nature, this actually was in part responsible for the shutdown of AATIP, the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, the one responsible for more or less coming forth with all, since I believe about 2017, most of the recent UAP, it's where we get UAP, lately as the new moniker for this kind of thing. The Tic Tac video, the Go Fast video, etc. The USS Nimitz, I believe, is another one.
So wait, you're telling me that we had a program that was sponsored by the U.S. government to look out for things, dangerous things in the air, and these sea fundamentalists got a
C-word fundamentalists
got a case of the ass because,
and by C-word I mean they were out on boats.
Yeah, so they got mad that they thought that they were looking for demons in the sky.
Well, the story is Mr. Luis Elizondo, who is put in charge of this program. He has a long history in the military and intelligence operations.
Military intelligence.
Yes, jumbo shrimp, OxyContin. He was put in charge of this program, and according to him, he had an exchange with a very senior member of the Department of Defense, and it went a little something like this. I'm just paraphrasing here as to what he said, how it went down. Elizondo was asked to stop the SAP, or Special Access Program, by a very, very senior official. When asked why, they replied, "We already know what it is." He thought they meant that it was our technology, to which they replied, "No, that's not what I'm saying. Have you read your Bible lately?" "I think I know what it says," he replied. "Where are you going with this?" "Well, then you would know that these things are demonic, and we should not be pursuing them." And this is how he related it to the New York Post as how it went down. So what gets me is that even if they were demonic, what could it hurt to get data? Like, wouldn't you want to know how to stop this shit? Like,
yeah,
get the program in place? I mean, data is never bad. It's always good to have more information.
It's what transformed the leviathans of the deep into animals.
Yes, yeah. Here there be dragons, etc. People were afraid to go certain places or they'd fall off the edge of the earth, etc. Elizondo also covered in this NY Post talk. He reviews the UFOs and UAPs have 5 common traits that seem to defy physics and aerodynamics. He calls them the 5 observables. Number 1, instantaneous acceleration. Humans can go 9 Gs for only a short time before becoming susceptible to blackouts or redouts. A redout, for those who don't know, is when a human being experiences rapid downward acceleration, all the blood rushes to the head. The F-16, for example, can experience 17 Gs before structural failure. These observed UAPs are doing up to 600 Gs. Number 2.
On camera.
Yeah. Number 2, hypersonic velocity, which hypersonic velocity is Mach 5 or above. The SR-71 Blackbird can do 3,200 miles per hour, but to make a right turn would take up a space equivalent to half the state of Ohio. UAPs are making right angle turns on a dime at speeds of up to 15,000 miles per hour in low atmosphere, with radar data on these particular speeds going back 70 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 3, and this is, he says, a bit of an oxymoron, but low observability on these things. Millions have gone into making stealth bombers, all the more harder to detect by radar, yet are still more observable by the naked eye, but not so with UAPs. These things can just blink out of existence, more or less. Number 4, and this is a big one, transmedium travel from land to high and low atmosphere aircraft to submersible aircraft. At these speeds, keep flying and then dip underwater and maintain their velocity. Which also lends to some of the theories of USO sightings, unidentified submersible objects, or potential fuel sources being water, potentially, for these things, as well as, once again, the whole idea of cryptoterrestrials and that these things may live under the oceans. So, food for thought. We'll come back to that later as well. Number 5, anti-gravity. And that being as where we utilize drag versus lift and rotation, or lighter than air, i.e. like helium, and or ballistics in the case of rockets to achieve anti-gravity.
Well, even in space, the only thing we can do is centripetal force.
Yeah, that too. Well, that's to create artificial gravity.
Yeah.
UAPs have no wings, no obvious signs of propulsion. So whatever it is that acts as their get up and go, there's just no fucking idea. I mean, if they were using jet propulsion, then the minute they go underwater, that's fucking kaput.
You know what's weird is this almost sounds like we're all suffering from like a mass schizophrenic psychosis trying to explain it, because it's just out of reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we all see the influence machine.
It's infuriating to the human mind. It's, when we can't grasp something, we start filling in holes. It's how conspiracy theories get started in general.
Earthly holes, like with earthly thoughts.
Earthly kits.
Which could be a problem.
Yeah. In closing, coming back to the whole crypto-terrestrial USOs sort of thing, I have a quick story here. This is from https://onebycall.ru. That's good enough. It's called Horror from the Depths. What is hidden in the Baikal waters concerning Lake Baikal in Russia? One of the, if not the, deepest freshwater lake in the world. Baikal has always been surrounded by ancient legends and mysteries, but new mystical stories connected with the lake appear from time to time. Sometimes they are so extraordinary that they may become a plot of a sci-fi film. Key to Baikal will tell you about the mysterious inhabitants of the lake's depths. Fishermen on Baikal have long been talking about the light coming from the depths and about the creatures dragging people swimming in the lake to the bottom. These stories, resembling the fairy tales about water spirits or krakens, have been ignored for a long time. However, this has changed over time. A strange crash of a Tu-104 plane occurred near the town of Sludyanka on the southern coast of Lake Baikal in 1959. The loss of the plane that crashed into Baikal has not been registered by any of the detachments. Before falling into the lake, the captain of the ship allegedly informed the dispatchers about an unidentified flying object moving in the sky. All those present in the control room at that time had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and the people fishing in the lake nearby saw a flying saucer chasing the falling plane. It accompanied the aircraft until the latter fell into the water. Half a century later, Russian ufologists organized an expedition to the crash site and spent some time there. According to their version, the accident occurred as a result of the actions of aliens who have a secret camp at the bottom of Lake Baikal in the area of Sludyanka. Ufologists even found the aliens and made videos of dubious quality featuring a UFO randomly moving across the night sky. The researchers did not explain why the camp of the UFO, or more precisely the USO, unidentified submersible object, was located exactly in the depths of Baikal. Another incident occurred at the bottom of Baikal in 1982. There is little information about this accident, so one has to rely on people's rumors, just like in the first case. According to these rumors, military divers saw 3-meter-high humanoids without scuba gear, but in silver overalls and spherical helmets on their heads in the northern part of Baikal. Trying to catch the aliens within a network, i.e. a net, the divers suddenly came to surface. 3 divers died from they got the bins. they came up too fast and they got the bins. I don't know what this shit is.
They're scared.
Oh, yeah. Lord, why don't you give me the bins?
There is another opinion. The 3 dead divers were killed by these unknown creatures. Some also say that the scientists from Irkutsk discovered huge traces of caterpillar tracks of the vehicles that do not exist on Earth at the bottom of Lake Baikal with the help of deep-sea submersibles. Many people recall seeing UFOs in the form of greenish transparent triangles and fireballs hovering above the lake or glowing beneath the water. As a result, there is an impression that a UFO camp is located somewhere in the Baikal depths, maybe even 2 camps. Some say that the camp at the bottom of the lake is not a camp at all, but a real transition portal between parallel worlds. According to one hypothesis about the origin of UFOs, unidentified objects can be the messengers of a civilization from a parallel world. There is a version that is an unknown rational life form could have emerged in the lake. This assumption could explain the incidents with strange human-like creatures in 1982. But can an advanced civilization develop in Baikal now? It is possible. Interestingly, no other place on Earth are as often called alien camps as Antarctica and Baikal. Everything is clear with the first location. It is inaccessible for people. It is easy to hide there. But what does Baikal have to do with this? There are larger expanses of even deeper oceans where one can hide more successfully than in plain sight, almost in the center of Eurasia. However, are there so many places in Europe and Asia that could have such immense depths as Baikal? The answer is no. If the hypothetical aliens had to choose a suitable distance from human civilization and a perfect shelter at the same time, then they would undoubtedly opt for Baikal. The atmosphere of the sacred sea, that's good, I mean, right there. This goes right in with the idea that we broached on the Richard Shaver episode, I believe that was our last episode, of cryptoterrestrials, these things coming from, say, the hollow earth, these things hiding in the ocean. It seems more and more plausible when you also think about, no one really gives much credence to the definition of the word alien. We think very anthropocentrically. We can't help it. We're humans. But if you look at these aliens, they look like human fetuses. They look like reptiles. They look like insects. They look like life forms that are all indigenous to Earth.
That we all know.
Yes. Outside of the occasional energy being encounter, that's the only thing I've ever heard of in the UFO lore that sort of sticks out. I mean, when you think alien, you get to think, you know, these things should adhere more to complete otherness. You know, why aren't we encountering, you know, sentient
jellyfish?
Yeah, jellyfish type thing. I mean, but even then, that's Earth-centric.
Yeah, but it's so non-anthropomorphic.
Yeah, it is a very alien.
And their thought processes, if they were, you know, advanced beyond us, would be incomprehensible to us.
And they actually have found scientific proof that certain species of jellyfish are functionally immortal.
Wow.
Yeah, outside of being, you know, eviscerated by a predator, etc., these things can live for hundreds and hundreds of years. Some of them. Yeah.
They even said that there's, I think J-Lo was talking about it not that long ago, that octopus are foreign or could be foreign.
I heard about that as well. See, and that's the reverse of this idea, is that maybe it comes back to the idea of panspermia and that we're here because of alien intervention of some sort.
Because the universe just kept building houses.
Yeah. Inside joke. Yeah. Other species besides humans. I mean, I believe it was Terence McKenna who posited the idea that fungal spores, which can exist in the vacuum of space, are in fact alien technology sent to us to communicate with extraterrestrials.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You use biology.
Well, even so, like when they went to the moon, they put that camera up on the stand so they could film themselves faking the moon landing. And one of the guys that had been working on the Apollo project had a cold and sneezed on the lens and didn't tell anyone. And it survived the vacuum of space. It just dried out, went dormant. And then when they brought it back, they examined everything, right? Because, you know, what's the radiation like on the moon and all that? They want to know. So they're like, hey, viruses exist in space. Oh, wait. No, that's me. I'm sorry. I wasn't wearing a face mask. My bad.
We'll see it also like in thinking anthropocentrically, which we're, you know, we just can't help it, I think. But our senses are limited. We've just got 5, whereas the electromagnetic spectrum is vast and wide, and only so much of it is detectable to us. And as we walk through life every day, you know, we're bombarded by 5G, we're bombarded by cosmic radiation, various microorganisms. There's whole entire hidden worlds and shadow biospheres just occurring all around us at all times.
Yep. You walk around with strep on your skin.
Ugh.
All day. You take a shower, and as soon as you get out of the shower again, you're covered in it.
Strep on my skin and gum on my shoe. Son of a bitch.
It's just there. You get that, what they call the horny layer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it traps all that dirt and stuff in your skin. And
I know
your
that
pores and
layer.
stuff. Yeah. And so, I mean, hell, dude, like what, 80% of our immune system is generated from our gut?
Yeah.
And our gut.
There's actually some people who have posited the theory that the superorganism that is the collective microorganisms that live, you know, inside of us, on us, etc., are able to affect us through their affect our consciousness through their consciousness. I mean, it's, you know, one of the more fringe woo-woo theories, but
Is that how the Mothman works?
No, Mothman,
he's delinquent.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole.
Pretty much. I don't know. That the whole idea of microorganisms and stuff like that, that's when you're getting into like some really weird areas. Like I've also heard of nano UFOs, which, man, that opens up a whole goddamn can of worms in itself. I mean, that's
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, once again, we're surrounded by wonders and mysteries.
If you can think it, it's probably already happened.
Magnets, how do they work?
Yeah, that's, man, like, all right, so let's pretend that we're on the other side of this, right? Like we have some kind of interdimensional device that we can reach over to a world like this.
We just happen to have one right here.
Oh.
I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with the cult classic Lovecraftian movie From Beyond, but there's a device called the Tillinghast resonator. And we just happen to have a mock-up here that we've created from blueprints stolen from the movie studio. Let's start this thing up.
Oh my God, Mike, turn that off. Turn it off, turn it off.
Oh shit, I can't seem to stop what's going on here.
Oh shit.
Whoa, what is happening? There seems to be some sort of entity coalescing in the room before us. Is it?
Cornelius, what did I tell you about that?
Is it? It is. It's
Santa! Oh, how are you boys doing?
Hey, Santa.
Santa's had a rough day. Oh, shit.
How are you, Santa?
I'm well, boys. How are you guys doing?
Oh, you know.
Oh, you know. You watch.
Yeah, you should know, buddy.
I was just asking for a friend. Hey, hey, Taylor, do you mind if I keep some stuff here, man? I gotta keep some shit, like, secret for a while. Is that cool?
Whoa. Santa, what seems to be the problem?
Oh, man, we got problems down there at North Pole, man. It's not good.
You know what? You're Santa. I'll do anything for you, Santa.
Thank you, J-Lo. You're a good boy. You're going to stay on the good boy list this year. Even though you've been looking at some pretty strange shit, I'm going to let that one slide.
Thanks, Santa.
Yeah, we've been up there doing some litigation and arbitration with the Elves Union. And fucking little fuckers have got me all fucked up, man. I got to come down here, court ordered by a supernatural court, to tell you guys and your fans to just please stop buying kids Christmas presents.
What? Why?
You got to let these elves do their job. Every time you buy a kid a Christmas present, you're taking a job away from a hardworking elf.
But Santa, I mean, we have all this new technology and plastics and whatnot. And they make all these really cool toys. It's hard to compete with all those just wooden horses and whatnot.
It must, but you got to think about the LGBT community.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty funny, Mike. This guy's fucking cutting up. Always got jokes. No.
Elves are people, too.
They are.
We, it's been busy, man. I had to quit smoking because the science came out.
I remember when that happened.
And,
I heard about it at least.
Well, I quit smoking cigarettes a long, long time ago, but I just got off the Christmas spirit, and it's just fucking good, man. I live for that shit, and I've been shaking pretty hard without it, so.
Santa, would you consider yourself an ultra-terrestrial?
You are humanoid.
I'm good enough to fuck your mom.
Whoa, Jesus, Santa.
Sorry, man. It's rough. I'm sorry. I'm just going through withdrawal.
All right, we'll let it slide because you're Santa. But don't think you can get away with whatever you want just because you're Santa.
Well, oh, man.
We could stop believing any second.
That's right.
Don't stop
Even though we're
believing.
looking right at you.
Don't stop believing, boys.
When I was little, I wrote a letter to you telling you that I didn't believe you anymore because I didn't get exactly what I wanted. I'm sorry about that, Santa.
Wait, you didn't believe in him, but you wrote a letter to him saying you didn't believe in him? Oh, okay.
I was little.
Okay.
Oh, you guys got me. Oh, God. Man, I'm just going to say this one thing, all right? And then I'm going to have to get out of here.
You want to close this out, Santa?
Yeah, I can close this out. Look, I got to go anyways, man, because me and the goat man of Lake Worth, we got some stuff going on later. We got to go down to Tijuana, and we got to meet a guy with a guy named Flores, and everyone knows his shit is the bomb.
Santa's got a little cartel problem?
Well, yeah, we gotta go do some cleanup.
Take care of that snow from the North Pole.
Yeah.
Down there in the North Pole?
Oh, yeah, down there.
It's all relative from space.
Well, technically we're in Canada now, and those socialist guys are just, jeez, man. The day that we moved into Canada, they were asking for health insurance, and I told them that's not how this works down here at Santa Sweatshop Workshop. You guys are just making too many goddamn demands.
Oh, man.
But anyways.
Well, Santa was sorry our Tillin gas resonator brought you here accidentally, but it was,
all right.
It was good to have you by.
Just hang on to this. I'll be back. Man, get a goddamn chimney, all right?
Okay.
Whatever you say, Santa.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
We'll see you boys later. And tell Matt I said hey.
All right. Bye, Santa.
Bye, boys.
Goddamn Santa Claus.
Was Santa here?
Yeah, you missed it.
I had to step back for a minute.
Yeah, every time you go to the bathroom, it's Santa Claus shows up. It's almost as if you're the same person, maybe? I don't know. I don't want to
tell your kids that.
I don't want to Clark Kent you. Oh boy. Yeah, me personally, I wanted this episode to be much longer, but we're only human. We only have certain thresholds we can meet because there's just so much goddamn cool shit about this particular topic. John Keel leads into a lot of cool places. We're going to be taking you into some even stranger places in the coming episodes, so stick around. Shout out to our international listeners. Shout out to The Struggle. You know the one we're talking about.
Much love.
Respect
Peace.
the plight.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by again, everyone. This has been the Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcasts. I'm Mike.
I'm Matt.
And I'm J-Lo.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.